Good morning, everyone. I am Eric Shore. I am the president of Secure Future Tech Solutions, and we are a proud sponsor of this small business workshop. It's Tech Collective's Road to Resilience cybersecurity program. And we are going to give small businesses out there some real world stuff that you can do today, starting right now, to be able to protect your business. So I am honored to have with us today, as part of our cybersecurity committee at the Tech Collective, we have Joan Costa from RCC. Welcome, Joan. And we also have Doug Tondro from URI's Digital Forensics Center. So you guys are in for a treat today. So today's agenda, Joan is going to talk to us about the risks out there today. You've heard a lot of risks from our FBI agent, Tom Doyle. So we're going to talk about some risks that hit close to home. And then we will cover two modules today very quickly because we only have 45 minutes today on the Road to Resilience program. That's Tech Collective's free cybersecurity program for small businesses out there. There are 6 modules in total, so I encourage all of you, after you've gone through module 1 and 2 here today, to sign up at techcollective.org and go through the rest of the program. So we'll share with you some additional resources that you can use. Doug today will give us a demo and also walk us through a few exercises. And then at the end, I encourage all of you to put some questions into the chat today, and we can answer your questions at the end. So please, Joan, take it away. Talk to us about cyber risk.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everybody. So we are going to talk about cyber risk. So we're going to define it. We're going to talk about a statistic for small businesses that will probably make you a little bit nervous. We're going to discuss who these attackers are, how they attack and why they attack, and how you can reduce your risk with good cyber hygiene. So for small businesses, using digital technologies creates a lot of opportunities. It could provide growth, innovation, efficiency, but with these advantages comes risk. The good news is that there are steps you can take to reduce the risk. These steps are not just for your IT department. These are something that we all have to think about and participate in. So what do we mean by cyber risk? So cyber risk could mean financial loss, any sort of intentionally caused disruption to a business or their systems, or a failure that damages the reputation of an organization. So you think, well, that's not going to happen to us. That's not really true. All types and sizes of organizations are at risk. Not only the Home Depots or the Targets or the Equifaxes of the world, small businesses are low-hanging fruit to these cyber criminals. There's a statistic that says 60% of small businesses that are compromised by a cyber event will go out of business. So we're going to start by defining each threat category and mention how these threats differ in the techniques of attacks, their sophistication, and even what their goals are. The first one is these script kiddies. So these types can be young or old. They use existing computer scripts or code to hack into computers. Their primary goal really is bragging rights. This is kind of a game to them. They might leverage search engines to find vulnerable websites just to mess with them. If they come up against any sort of obstacle, they're just going to move on to something else that's easier. Now, the financially motivated type of attackers, this is their job. They're more sophisticated than script kiddies we just talked about. They might use a phishing email to infect computers with malware, or get someone to download an attachment, or get them to click on a link to a malicious website. They might use pop-up ads. They could install a keylogger to steal passwords or PIN codes. So just a trick that we recommend, if you get a link in maybe an email, if a friend sends you a link with something, hover over the link with your mouse just before you click on it, just to make sure. If you think you're going to a Providence Business News article, make sure the link looks like it's going to actually take you to the Providence Business News. If somebody sends you an attachment, don't click on that attachment unless you confirm with them that they've actually sent it, even if you have to make a phone call to do it. All right, hacktivists. So these guys are politically motivated, and they use different attack techniques. So one of them is a distributed denial of service, or a DDoS attack. So this might block access to a website, or it might disrupt its operation. So they're going to exploit web vulnerabilities using stolen passwords, just to acquire sensitive information. Now, these guys are actually going to take credit for their work, and they're going to use this publicity to advance their cause. So here are some of the more organized and famous groups you may have heard about. You probably have definitely heard about Eric Snowden. He's classified as a hacktivist. Now, again, the tools and techniques used by these hacktivists. So they're going to compromise a website that might be even loosely affiliated with your actual target. They're going to use stolen credentials. They're going to use these targets in a publicity stunt. Concepts like doxing. So this is when someone publishes private or identifying information on the internet, all with malicious intent. So these DDoS attacks, they might use botnets to target a single system to overwhelm it and make it unavailable. And these hacktivists also have resources that you can rent. You can rent an army of botnets, So this is just a DDoS as a service type of concept. Now, nation state attackers. So these guys, they want to steal intellectual property. They want to influence geopolitics. They want to cause disruption. So you may have heard about an advanced persistent threat, or APT. So this is probably a nation state sponsored attack. These attacks could start with a phishing email targeted to specific individuals. This is referred to as cyber warfare. Now, if you were to guess which countries engage in this type of activity, you might guess China, Russia, Israel, Iran, North Korea, and you would be right. But the World Economic Forum lists them all as cyber warfare superpowers, but you have to add the US and the UK to that list. So, cyber risk, it is an industry. So there's a business model. There's an ecosystem out there with organized crime gangs, loan operators, contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, and customers. They all have varying degrees of sophistication and ability. There's a marketplace to buy and sell products or services like those DDoS botnets we've talked about. There's a supply chain. There's a distribution network. And there are money mules. They might not even realize, these people don't even realize they're breaking the law. So, how can you reduce your risk? Good cyber hygiene. So these attacks all have something in common. The intent, the target, the impact, they're all different, but the techniques used might be the same. So they might start with a phishing email. So use that hover technique that I mentioned before you click on a link. If you have an unpatched system, that's a problem. So if you haven't run your security patches in a while, please do it. If you're using an old device, like say a Windows 7 workstation, Windows doesn't support that anymore. They're not sending out security patches. So, I would either update your operating system or get a new device. They might also use malware. So anyone who has access to these advanced tools, they're available to buy or rent online. So these threats are real, and we're all targets. So Eric is now going to take us through the next couple of slides to close out this module and bring us through the next.
Thank you, Joan. So Joan informed us of all the cyber risks out there, and I can vouch for the fact that every week in my security practice, we are dealing with these issues. So this is a threat that happens to big businesses and small businesses. So what is really important to know is that you need to know what you have on your network, what devices that you're using, because you can't protect something that you don't know you have. So some of the things that we need to think about: what is in your IT network? What's in your environment? What connects to your network? There's something that's called an IoT device, or an Internet of Things device, and that can be cameras, that can be printers. I mean, I've even seen internet connected coffee machines and appliances, and even microwaves now. Amazon sells a connected microwave. So these are all devices that have risks. You also want to take a look at your network, and it could be in your home environment as well. Do you have old devices that are no longer in use? Those could go unpatched. They could be a big security hole into your network or into your home environment as well. So disconnect them. That's a mistake that I see time and time again, is that companies leave old equipment even in their server closet. So it really needs to come out. Now, video cameras, video surveillance systems, they used to be called CCTV. Now they're more network video systems. They're really easy to install. You could go out and get a Ring camera or a Nest camera, or there are many other kinds of cameras out there, but we often don't change the passwords to them. So that could open up a window into what's going on in your office environment that you may not want hackers to be able to see. We also need to deal with online accounts. If you have old online accounts, perhaps you have an old Gmail account, you should close it, because if it gets compromised, the hacker could use it as you. Old domain names as well. We work with many law firms at Secure Future Tech, and quite often law firms are merging or changing partners, and they don't take down or they don't take down the old domain names. So that's really important to make sure that you do that as well. And then finally, outdated software. So outdated software could be Adobe Flash. Now, Adobe Flash is end of life coming up this year. So websites out there aren't using Flash anymore, but Flash is always having security issues. So you want to make sure that you go on your computer and do an inventory. If you're not using Java anymore, uninstall it. If you're not using Flash anymore, uninstall it. Or if you have other programs that you're not using anymore, make sure that you uninstall it. So what are some of your assets? So just to go back again about that, it's desktops, it's laptops, it's smartphones, it's tablets, it's point of sale devices if you run a retail store. But more importantly, it's the Internet of Things devices. It's thermostats, it's microwaves, it's cameras, it's printers. These all connect to the network, and we often forget to change the passwords on them because we really don't think about it. So you need to be aware of that. As far as your applications, it's Microsoft Office. Are you still holding on to that version of Microsoft Office, the 2010 version? Upgrade it. There are newer versions that are constantly being updated that are more secure. Are you using that old version of Adobe? These are all things that get compromised. So take a good inventory, and we're going to share you some, as part of the program, some tools that can help you determine what's on your computer. Online accounts as well. Make sure that you don't have any old accounts out there, or that you're changing up the passwords on your Amazon, your Netflix, and enable two-factor authentication. Doug will be coming up and leading us in an exercise later, talking to us about two-factor authentication and how it can take your security up about 10 notches. So there is a concept right now in cybersecurity called giving the minimum level of access required to do your job. Quite frankly, and I see this a lot in small businesses, particularly small businesses that don't have IT departments, everyone gets access to everything in the work environment because you feel it's a small office, and if somebody's out sick, I need to be able to log in to somebody's computer when they're off for the day. So I've even come into offices where everybody's password was password because the owner of the company felt that he needed to get into somebody's machine if they weren't in. And hackers prey on stuff like that. So it's very important to make sure that your employees and members of the team only have the access that they need to get in and do their job. We don't like to think about it, but many hacking attacks occur because of insider threats. It could be intentional. I know you don't think the person sitting next to you in the cube could do something, but you never know. You never know. There's time after time, I've seen situations over 28 years of being in business where someone from the inside is compromising the network. It could be accidental as well. And if somebody has full administrator rights to the network, they could very easily compromise the network, or a hacker could get into their system and then compromise the network because there's no security in there. People get blackmailed as well. I see that all the time. That's usually through phishing emails and other things. So if you ever get a threat like that, please take it seriously. There was a situation a couple of years ago that I worked on where an attorney was being blackmailed and he ignored it, and it didn't end up going very well for him. He ended up losing $100,000. Be aware of phishing emails. That's really important to not click on links that come through emails as well. And if somebody has more access than they need, they could very easily delete something. So it's really important to give people just the right amount of access and have a separate administrator account to actually do your administrative functions. Don't just grant a user in the office or yourself in the office administrator rights, but have a separate account that you don't share with anyone. There's another thing that's really important, that's called the network or physical segmentation. I see this a lot in environments where you have guest Wi-Fi. I came across a situation the other day where there was guest Wi-Fi, but there was no password to it, and it also let the guests into their production network. So from the guest segment, somebody could be sitting in the parking lot, and then they could scan their entire network and see their printers, their cash registers, their credit card devices, their servers, their workstations. And so physical segmentation is creating a separate zone so that if you do have to have guest access, you put those computers on that zone, and it can only get to the internet. It can't touch anything else. So this is something that you'll probably want to hire an IT consultant or a professional to come in and help you out with, because there's some advanced networking stuff that needs to happen. But when you do that, your network is that much more secure as well. So any kind of insecure network device as well, like a camera or other devices, they would go on a separate subnet from your production network. The final thing we need to be aware of is third-party access attacks. So what that means is, let's say you're reusing the same username and password on a bunch of websites, because it's really hard to remember all those sites. I know. We're actually going to give you some tips and tricks on how to help you out with that. But if that one website gets compromised and the password database is stolen, hackers will then use that to try to attack you. And if you are reusing the same username and password at your bank or through your email, that could be a problem. An attack a couple years ago happened to one of my clients where he was using Office 365, and his same username and password was also in use on another website that got compromised. Hackers broke into his email and intercepted an email from a bank for a closing he was doing the next day. And unfortunately, this attorney wire transferred $100,000 to an outside account that wasn't his client's, and they lost the money and they never got it back. So these are the kind of things that you want to make sure that you are aware of. So we're also interested in making sure that your passwords are not too easy to guess. That's really important. So as I mentioned earlier, reusing the same passwords across multiple accounts means that a hacker can very easily compromise one website. It may not be your website at all, but they can compromise another website and then get access in. Don't lose $100,000 or more. I've seen these attacks even go into the millions of dollars as well. Even if you do have a good password, but maybe it's not quite strong enough, computing power today has increased over time, so that, the big supercomputers, the big mainframes of yesteryear that took up an entire room, it had the raised floor and all the air conditioning and stuff. People have more power than that today in the palm of their hand. Our iPhones are very powerful. Our laptops are very powerful. So even a cheap laptop today, a hacker can use to crack your password. That's why it is super important to make sure that you have really strong passwords, more than 8 characters, using special numbers and symbols as well. 12 characters would be even better. So I want all of you to make note of this website, howsecureismypassword.net. And if you can open up another browser window, you can go to this particular website and then enter your password. And Dashlane, this is sponsored by Dashlane. It is a password manager program that I recommend and use personally. There are other ones as well out there called LastPass, and I think Doug will review a couple of those with us in a little bit. put your password in there, or put something very similar to your password if you're not comfortable putting your actual password in here. Give it a try. Many passwords that I've tried were broken in seconds, which was really scary. So how secure is my password.net? Give it a try. So how can passwords get cracked? Well, there's a variety of ways that passwords can get cracked. Brute force is an attack where hackers use computing power to automatically enter all possible combinations. So if you have a short password or it's not complicated, it can be cracked in minutes, sometimes even seconds. Longer passwords are much more difficult to use brute force attacks on. It could take years to crack those. We have dictionary attacks. So a dictionary attack is a form of a brute force attack as well, where it uses common dictionary phrases, common words, common passwords. There's a bunch of common passwords out there, including, I still see from time to time, people using password. Or please don't use something that can be easily found on the internet or on Facebook, your dog's name, your high school, your maiden name. All of these things can be determined very easily. There's also a kind of attack called credential stuffing. So if you're using the same password over and over again in places, hackers, if they can get it in one place, they'll try it in different places as well. And then finally, phishing emails. There are very realistic looking phishing emails out there that people give up their passwords time and time again. I see this all the time. People give up their usernames, their passwords, and hackers immediately will use that to compromise your systems. So social engineering is also how hackers gain information about you. And this has nothing to do with technology and everything to do with deception. People trick you. They send you realistic looking phishing emails. They can redirect you to a fake looking website where you put in your username and password, and phone calls as well too. I just got a phone call the other day from Microsoft, and Microsoft called me and told me that I had a computer, me of all people, I had a computer virus on my system. So, and they wanted to clean it up for me. So they were looking for my credit card and access to my system. Well, I guarantee you I had fun with that. It was fantastic. They also use manual guessing. So it's really important. Don't use anything that people know about you. Because hackers will look you up on Facebook, will look you up on LinkedIn. There are many people search websites out there as well where I can gather all kinds of information about you very easily. Shoulder surfing is also something that hackers do. I know we're probably not sitting in a bunch of coffee shops right now because of COVID, but coffee shops, you have to be very careful because people can look over your shoulder and see what you're doing. You want to be very careful with that. And also, too, when you're on public Wi-Fi, hackers use interception. They can sit in a coffee shop or sit in a parking lot somewhere near your office, and they can possibly read what's being transmitted on the network using Wi-Fi, wireless sniffers and other things. Or you could, if you were using a public Wi-Fi, you need to make sure you're using the right one, because many times they can set up what's called a pineapple, and that's a device that is a hacker hotspot, and you connect to that hotspot, and you get sent along to the web, but everything is being recorded that you're doing. So you want to make sure that you're very, very careful. My recommendation is don't use hotspots at all. I mean, wireless guest spots. Instead, use a hotspot on your phone. Everybody's iPhone and Droid has a hotspot. Use that instead. So strong passwords. This is a quick exercise that you need to go to this video here that you can watch later if you like. Make sure your password is complex. Uses phrases. Make sure it's longer than 8 characters and special symbols. It's very important to make sure that you protect yourself there. This is another website that I would like you to go to when you have a chance. HaveIBeenPwned.com. This will show you if there's any information on the dark web about you. So HaveIBeenPwned.com as well. So this is another website that you can go and see if you've already been compromised. And if you see your password on the dark web, all the hackers have it. So you want to make sure you change it right away. So what I want to do now is I want to turn the floor over to Doug, and he will lead us in a discussion about setting up two-factor authentication, and he'll do some demos. So Vince, if you could take it away.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you, Eric and Joanne. That was fantastic and awesome. I hope everyone's having a great morning. I know I am. So the first thing I would love to do is, I know we talked about a lot of things. The key thing we definitely don't want to do is scare you guys, but let you know that there are steps that you can take, I would say, to essentially protect yourself from a lot of the things that are happening. One of the things that Microsoft often does, which I think goes ignored, is they do what's known as Patch Tuesdays. They typically release Patch Tuesdays every second Tuesday of the month, so usually bi-weekly. And 9 out of 10 times when they do release the updates, it's actually to protect your system from any level of vulnerabilities that may actually exist that you might not be aware of, right? So the first thing I would like to share with you guys is exactly where you can go to find out what the updates are. So if you go to portal.microsoft.com/en-us, which is the English version, security/guidance, you will actually get a list of all the latest updates that Microsoft released, right? And often people don't do the updates because they think it doesn't apply to them. And one of the things that I often tell my clients and people as well is to always visit this website. And what Microsoft does a phenomenal job at doing is they actually will tell you the date of when the update was released. They'll tell you what product the update was for. In this case, right, the most recent one was for SharePoint Enterprise 2016. They have an article that you could read that gives you detailed information about the update and exactly what they're patching and what vulnerability they're fixing. And once you read the article, if you're comfortable with it, with the update, you can actually download the update that they've released. And as you go down this list, you can actually see all the latest updates they've released out, right? Even the newest version of Windows 10, there's been a bunch of vulnerabilities that exist. So all the updates for Windows 10 exist. So I highly recommend that you actually visit portal.microsoft.com and take a look at their security guidance page, which gives you a list of all the updates. You can take a look at the severity of that update and the impact that it has, right? And we know that the most important thing to you all is business continuity. So we want to make sure that you actually perform and get these updates going. So how do we perform an update? So that's one of the things that I kind of want to briefly talk about today. So to perform an update, all you simply have to do is right click on Start on your Windows 10 machine if you have one. If you have a Windows 8.1, it works the same way. Windows 7, you would have to go to the control panel. I'm hoping that none of you have a Windows 7. From there, you would go to Settings. And then when you go to Settings, you will get all of the settings that your Windows 10 has to offer. From there, you would click on Update and Security. And in this screen here, you can actually download all the latest updates. And the beauty about this is you can click on download for the latest updates to download, but all it's going to do is download them. And then you will decide if you want to actually install the updates. If you don't want the updates to occur during the day or while you're working, you can actually set when you would like for the updates to happen by going to the advanced options and actually specifying when you would like for the updates to occur. In this case, I can click turn receive updates on versus off. And then I can specify the day of the week that I want the updates to happen, how often I want them to happen, and really be very, very specific in regards to how and when I would like for the updates to occur. Or you could just click on download and actually just download the most up-to-date updates. What I typically do when I do my updates is I typically change the active hours. You can turn that on. And then you can actually specify the time you would like for the updates to occur in your system. Again, if you are confused or would like additional help with any of this, please reach out to us at the Tech Collective and we will be happy to help you with this. But I definitely highly recommend that you always check the Microsoft web page to get a good sense of what updates have been released, what they're affecting, and does it apply to your business, your company, or what it is that you are utilizing. I always often run my updates and make sure that it works, and I also read the articles often. So this is one of the most important things that I would say that you could do to ensure that the latest patches are installed on your system so you can protect yourself from various vulnerabilities that exist. Okay. The last thing we talked about, I know we talked about a lot of things, and that is the second thing I would say is the two-factor authentication, right? So two-factor authentication is a beautiful thing. And one of the beauties about two-factor authentication is it protects you from hackers in a lot of ways, right? One of it being is if a hacker was to actually get your password to your email. I have one of my business's email accounts open here, as you could see. So if a hacker was to get access to this email account, if I have two-factor authentication set up, I don't really have to worry about it as much because I need to authorize access to that system. So here I am logged into my Gmail or my G Suite account. Okay. And to set up two-factor authentication using G Suite, it's actually pretty simple. So I'll start from the beginning. So if you were to go to Google, you would just essentially sign into your account or your system. Okay. Once you sign in, it will bring you to your email, similar to what I have on my screen. You could click on your G Suite, select manage your Google account. And again, I know we're going through this a little quickly, so if you need additional help, please come see us at the Tech Collective. You would scroll down and click on security. And once you click on security, this is where all of the security for your email account as it relates to Gmail or manage. Again, two-factor authentication is available for Gmail, Outlook, and various email clients that we use today. So to set up the two-factor authentication, you would, once you click on security, you will notice that the first thing you'll see is we keep your account protected. And then it talks about getting started. So we're going to go through that. But first, let's take a look at what the other options are. Here you notice that there's a recent security activity, and then it actually tells you no activity in the last 28 days. So essentially what this tells you is if any security breaches have occurred on your email that are detectable by Google, and not all of them are because it's hard to keep up with a lot of this. The second thing, which is what we're going to really do, is signing into Google. Here you notice that it has a list called two-step verification. And then it even gives you a date when your password was last changed. In my case, my password was last changed August 17. Okay. So to set up two-factor authentication, I would simply turn two-step verification on. Right now it's off, so I would click on it. Once I turn it on, it will then navigate you to a screen called Protect Your Account with Two-Step Verification. And then it explains to you exactly what two-step verification is. Each time you sign into your Google account, you will need your password and verification code in order to access your account. So even though you know the email, if you don't have the verification code, you cannot access or log into your account. And it's really designed to keep the bad guys out. Okay. So to get started, we would simply click on getting started, get started. Then you're going to have to re-log in to your email using your password. So in this case, I'm going to re-log in. Let me hope I remember my password. Okay. And then it's going to say use your phone as your second step to sign in. So one of the things that you will need is a phone to sign in. And what that essentially is going to do is once you use your email and your password, your phone is going to be essentially the third authorizer or the verifier to allow you to access your system. So it's called two-step verification because your password is the first step. Your cell phone or the device that you're using to authorize access is the second step. Okay. So these devices can get prompts. We can click on show more options. And if you don't want to use your phone, you can do security key, or you can do text message or voicemail to get codes, right? So one of the ways you could set this up is you can get a screen that pops up that says, would you like to access the account? You would click yes. If you don't want that screen to pop up, you can actually set it up where you get a security key that is text message to you, or you can get a voicemail. Typically, I wouldn't do a voicemail unless you want to do that. I don't see my device, so I can click on don't see my device. And then it's going to tell you the steps you can actually take to get your device or to see it on your system. Okay, in this case, I see my wife's iPhone. She's probably going to yell at me for doing this, but I'll go through it anyways. I'm going to click on continue. And the reason the iPhone is there is because I logged in to this email using the iPhone, so it actually keeps track of it. I will click continue, right? And then it's going to say Google sent a prompt to the iPhone. So that prompt, again, is sent to this phone. I would just simply click allow, and it will allow me access to this system, okay? So those are the steps that you would essentially take to set up two-factor authentication on your device. Again, just to review relatively quickly one more time, okay? First thing you do, all right, is you go to security. You go down to two-step verification. You turn it on. You click on get started, and then it's going to ask you to log in. So you log in, which is the first step that it's utilizing to verify that you are who you are. Your phone is going to be listed, so you want to make sure that you log into your Gmail account using your phone, so it can be one of the options listed. If you don't see the device, you can click on don't see device. Then it's going to tell you what you need to do if you have an Android, okay? If you have an Android phone, open settings app on your phone, tap accounts, then add account, select Google, and sign in. So you need to sign in to this Google account to see it, okay? So I will actually do that right now so you guys can see, right? Here I have my Android phone. I am going to open up the app settings, and I'm going to sign in. Add another account. Google app. Google. Settings. Now I can't find settings on my phone. Okay, settings. Right, open settings app, tap accounts, then add accounts. And once you click on accounts, you're going to see a list of your email if you have it. In this case, I am going to add. I'm going to click on add account. And then it's going to ask you which account you would like to add. In this case, it's going to be Google. Confirm. And then I would add this account. All right. So I apologize. This took a little longer than I really wanted it to. And then I could do auto sync to sync my information. Then I can click on try again. Let me see if it appears. Okay, so now that account is here. Google security. All right, it may take a little while to appear, but that's perfectly fine. So again, once it appears, iPhone should have appeared. There it goes. So here's my Samsung Galaxy, right? You notice that I just kind of went through the steps. Samsung Galaxy Note. I'm going to click continue, and then it's going to tell me, right? And I don't know if you guys could see, but it actually prompts you with this an authorizer to access. And on my phone, I'm going to say, okay, is this me? I'm going to look at the email. Yes. When I click yes, it will then grant me access to my email. Okay. So then it's going to ask me to write my cell phone. So I'm going to write my cell phone. To get text messages, send. Then it's going to send me a text message where I will actually have to write the code that I received from my cell phone. I'm going to click next, turn on. I now have two-factor authentication turned on my phone, and I can actually access my email with that two-factor authentication. And now you notice two-step verification is on since October 7th, 2020. So that is kind of when I set it up. All right. So the last thing I wanted to kind of go over with you guys, which you guys can kind of do and again, come to the Tech Collective to get some additional help with, is keeping track of all of your assets. Okay. So if you reach out to us at the Tech Collective, one of the things we do have is this spreadsheet that is designed by the Center for Internet Security. And what this spreadsheet essentially does is it helps you keep track of your assets and your inventory. And this is very, very useful in the event that you need access to this. Again, this is not online. It's just a spreadsheet that's designed for you to kind of go through and manually fill out to keep track of everything, right? So license for use, it gives you a disclaimer. Again, you can use this disclaimer for your company. This is the same exact CIS controls that Microsoft, Apple, and Google use to manage their system. This is actually the vendor that provides this for them. So if you click on hardware, this is where you can actually put a list of all your hardware that you have. So your asset names, type, description of the hardware, model, manufacturer, internal ID, the MAC address, IP. So this is a spreadsheet really designed to help you keep track of your assets. So this is for all of your hardware related systems. Once you are able to identify them, it's always a good practice and good habit to have a list of all of them. Same thing for software. You have a software tab. You can actually come here, software product name, the type, description. Again, you can come in here, fill out all of the information for your software to get a good sense of what software you have. Lastly, you have sensitive information. If there's any sensitive information that you would like to have documented or information about, you can actually fill all of this out inside of this spreadsheet. And the reason this is useful is because, again, you would keep this offline in the event that your information was to get compromised, so you could have a good sense of exactly where they are and how to protect it. And I know one of the last questions is, how do you protect it? Again, if it's a spreadsheet, it's very easy to protect it. You could just I didn't save this thing. Well, if it's a spreadsheet and you want to learn how to protect it, come see us at the Tech Collective, and we should be able to kind of go through that process with you. I think I can do it now. So if you right click on your spreadsheet, okay, you can click on Protect Sheet, and then you can actually create a password for your sheet. Click OK, right? And you would be able to protect each and every single one of these sheets, right? So I'll do it again. Right click on the spreadsheet, Protect Sheet. Then you can add a password for each of the sheets that you have. And now, right, if I was to get access to this and I want to copy it or change it, I wouldn't be able to do it, right, because it's password protected. So this is a good way to manage your assets and really keep track of everything that you essentially have. All right. So I don't want to take up too much time. I want to do a quick check-in with the time before I do, to see if I have enough time to do the last pass, because I know we wanted to utilize additional time to give you guys some time if you had questions and for us to answer. Can I just do a time check? How are we doing on time, guys?
We're out of time, and the main stage starts up again in 5 minutes.
Okay, so I'll stop. Thank you.
I think this is a great opportunity to make sure that you come to Tech Collective, because we only very quickly covered 2 modules. There is so much more information. It's an amazing program, Tech Collective's Road to Resilient Cybersecurity program. It's free to small businesses. You'll learn much more from Doug, from Joan, from myself, from others. So please visit us at techcollective.org, and I put the URL up on there. We'll also get you a copy of the slides so you have them as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. Secure Future Tech is a proud sponsor of this particular event, and we will see you back on the main stage. Take care.
Bye.